James Hergott here, coming to you live from Tahiti. Actually, I'm coming to you from Canada. I live in Canada. I grew up in Canada. Grew up in a small town called Cobourg, Ontario. I was born in Cornwall, Ontario. And I lived 12 years in California. So I'm a filmmaker and an amateur bodybuilder. And this is my very first video blog. And I had a lot of things I wanted to talk to you guys about. And being that this is my first video blog, I just wanted to kind of introduce myself as well. So a little bit about my history. First, from the filmmaking point of view, growing up in a small town, I had big dreams, and I wanted to get into doing movies and all that. I really didn't have a lot of people around me that were involved in movies or anything like that. So I really had to have the kind of a mindset that this is what I was going to do, and nobody was going to stop me. And there's always people that will tell you you can't do something, especially sometimes it's the worst from people that are closest to you. And I kind of broke free from that and followed my heart. So in 2005, I had my first movie released in theaters. It was called All That I Need, and this was released in multiplexes in the U.S., in Regal Cinemas, Edwards Cinemas, and I did it for a budget of $30,000. So I wasn't didn't have the best special effects or anything like that, but the key thing for me was that I had completed a project and I had taken it from a concept all the way to seeing it in the theater and seeing people's reactions and getting out there and talking to people. So for me, that was my first big achievement. After that, I was always a fan of UFC and MMA, and I set out to get involved in that. At the time, it wasn't nearly as big as it is right now, so I kind of saw that as a future growth industry. And I got involved in Tap Out Magazine at the time, and they were doing a show called MMA Worldwide, and traveled around with that, went to a lot of different MMA gyms all over the US, and also got involved with a venture to go to Iraq, and at the time it was an active war zone. So this was the first time that fights were actually put on in an active war zone. So I went to Iraq. That was a crazy experience, filming the fights there and seeing what was really going on when we were at war. And I went there with the U.S. Army. After coming back from that, I did executive produced and wrote a movie about George St-Pierre called The Striking Truth, and that also was released. That was in Walmart, everywhere, Blockbuster at the time, before they no longer had stores. And again, so that was another success. And transitioned from that, actually got involved with more of the bodybuilding scene, and got involved with a movie called Generation Iron. Generation Iron, it was a huge success, especially within the bodybuilding and fitness community. I was a business director for that. I got to host the LA premiere and the New York premiere, which was just an amazing experience all in itself. And I've been fortunate enough to meet all kinds of really cool people, both in the MMA world and the bodybuilding world, through those experiences. And I currently have a project which is called the Radical Body Transformations. I've been filming that since December, and we've had some great success with that. We just started to kind of film the conclusions to that, and we've been filming all over the U.S. and Canada. So in Manitoba, for example, we've got people that competed for the first time and did well. I had a girl named Shauna. She placed second in bikini, and we had a couple people that were just guys that, just average people, and they were able to, lose 30 to 50 pounds and add muscle on top of that. And what we did is hook them up with really good trainers, really good supplementation, and other things necessary to facilitate that change. And we've got some really powerful stories on the project. I'm excited to bring that to you. So we're in the middle of doing that, and I'll talk more about that in a minute. As far as the bodybuilding aspect, I just basically got into bodybuilding kind of like a bucket list thing. I wanted to do a show because after working with all the MMA fighters and just casually training, I was in decent shape, and I thought, I really want to push and get into the best shape that I can, best shape of my life, and I did that. So the mistake I made with that was my first show, I won, and that was a big surprise, natural show, and winning that, then I got bitten by the bug and started competing more often. So now I've done 7 shows altogether, and I'm getting ready for my biggest show, which will be on the national stage, and that's going to be in August. So right now I'm a little over 200 pounds and starting to cut up, starting to get ready, and doing that process, doing my own transformation. And I love that because having those specific goals, I know there's people that say, what's the point of doing a contest because it's just a trophy, and I understand the logic behind that because people do take these things sometimes too serious. But on the other hand, for me at least, having a actual goal, actual competition, lights a fire under me that I can't reproduce on my own. So let's say if I were to just train and try to get in shape for the summer or whatever, I probably wouldn't be able to put the meals in. I probably wouldn't be able to train with the same effort that I do getting ready for show. And so to me there is a lot of merit in doing it, and for me it's all about personal development. During one of my contests, actually, I was going into a show and I was in really good shape. Actually, I was on the poster for the show. It was in my hometown of Coburg, and I had an ulcer. I did not know about this ulcer. I started having really extreme stomach pains, and I kind of just ignored it. I was on social media, and I just said, hey, what's going on? Is there, could this be some kind of, an issue with maybe I'm cramping? Something like that. And it just got really worse throughout the day. Ended up calling 911 because, frankly, I was just in so much pain that I knew something was seriously wrong at that point. And I got to the hospital, not to depress anyone, but, I was really close to death. So they had to rush me into emergency. They cut me open. I have now a scar for life that basically goes from the top of my chest past my belly button, and saved my life. And I spent a week in the hospital. But the positive note of that was that I still wanted to compete, and I was like 3 or 4 weeks away from the show, and I literally can't have aspirin after that. And I wasn't able to work out. I was in bad shape. I was throwing up violently and all that. And but my goal was just to make it on stage. Just basically kind of, I'm not going to let life set me back. I'm in my adult life, I've never had or I've tried never to have a victim attitude. I've always tried to look at it as that I'm in complete control of my own destiny. I take responsibility for the good and the bad that happens in my life. And doing that can be scary for a lot of people, but it can also open things up, because once you realize that you are in control of your destiny, you can change things. So with that, I made it to stage. That was a landmark moment in my life. People thought I was crazy for doing that, and maybe I was, but I wanted to prove something, and it kind of strengthened my resolve. See, growing up again in a small town and having big dreams, and having people tell me I couldn't achieve them, I never really believed that. I believe that you can do whatever you set your mind to. So my goal was I never wanted to get into a rhythm of living every day like Groundhog Day and then getting to the end of my life and saying, man, you know, I wish I had done this, I wish I had done that, and guess what, it's too late. And so people have let fear take over and stop them from doing a lot of things. So for me, the fear for me is if I get to the end of my life and I don't do the things that I want to do, and I don't go for my goals, whether I achieve them or not, then I'm going to look back and say I woulda, coulda, shoulda, and it's too late. And Stefan Molyneux, who's, you know, a well-known blogger, and he also, you know, I think he's the #1 philosophical blogger, talks a lot about zooming out, and I agree, especially when it comes to this. You have to zoom out in your life and see that you really only have one life that we know about, and you have a limited period of time, and it really goes by fast. I'm 39 right now, and it just seems to have flown by. And in that time, you can either live a life where you are afraid and never step outside of your comfort zone, or you can take those chances and experience life. And I guarantee if somebody told you, you know what, you've got 5 days to live, you would probably do some things that, you know, you'd be like, hey, I really want to enjoy life. I want to travel. I want to do different things, whatever it is. And sometimes we don't always have those options, or by the time we have those, that insight, I should say, it's too late, because as we get old, we don't have our health. We don't have, you know, maybe the same energy that we do when you're young. So I really encourage people to take control of their life, to break free of fear, and to do the things that you want to do, because you really do have nothing to lose. Because not to be morbid, but one day it will all be over and it's too late, and all the things that you might be afraid about really don't add up to anything. And you know, with my surgery, I really saw that, because when I thought I was going to die, I looked at my life. Now, look, I don't want to die. I never looked at it like, you know, I'm excited to die, I'm happy with death. But what I did think about in those moments is, if I die right now, on that day, I can honestly say that I can't control that. And I did all the things in my life that I had set out to do. You know, getting back to all my history, from everything from going to Iraq, to George St-Pierre project, to doing my first movie, to traveling, to competing. I took all the chances I wanted to take, and got to see the world, and got to experience all kinds of things. So, hey, if it's my time to go, it's my time to go. And I wanted to, you know, I've always wanted to live life to my fullest. So after that, and I realized I would be okay with the fact that if I was dead right now, I lived life the way that I wanted. That kind of proved my theory. Because I'm sure there's people out there, and I'm not trying to talk down to anybody. I'm sure there's people out there who would be in that position, and they're going to die, and they'd have a lot of fear of death, because they would think, I didn't do anything. And to me, that's really sad. So this transformation project that I'm doing is all about that. If you're overweight, if you're skinny, if you want to improve your life in general, I suggest that you set those goals and do them now. And we've been able to change lives. We've been able to see people completely transform their bodies, completely transform their mindset. So with that, the project's going amazing. Probably go back and film some of the stories, filling out some of the stories that we've already filmed, and getting some additional stuff to round it out. A lot of our people, we filmed some people in Fargo, and just like in that show alone, we had like 3 or 4 overall class winners. So I've been around a lot of people who have achieved success on a high level, and you get to see kind of that winner mentality. So in going forward in the future, you know, we're going to start looking for new people. There's some partnerships and things in the works. They're really exciting and will really open the doors. So if you are interested in transforming your life or being part of a transformation, you can contact me at my email. I'll link it down below. And I'll also tell you verbally right now. It's James Hergott, Hergott, at gmail.com. Just write me, send me a picture, tell me a little bit about yourself and why you want to transform. For those people who are already part of the cast, the show's moving forward. There's lots of exciting things happening, and we're going to make sure to make this a great experience for you, and I'm going to put everything into it to showcase you in a positive light. As far as this actual blog is concerned, you know, one of the things I wanted to do with this is to be able to talk directly to people with no filter. So you can write questions down below and I'll answer them. I'm not afraid of any question, so ask whatever you want and I'll get around to answering questions. Excuse me. Other than that, you know, I appreciate everybody's support. Please subscribe. I'm looking forward to doing more of these videos and talking about different topics and you know, kind of tracking my own progress with my own transformation as well. Excuse me. Again, thank you very much. Thanks for listening, and I'm out.